Happy New Year, everyone, from Jake here at Locked On Braves. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve or having a great New Year's Eve as I'm recording this on December 31st. Hopefully, you can hear some of the fireworks going off in the background. I want to give you my New Year's resolutions, both for me, for the Braves, and for this podcast. We'll be talking about that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
Hey, this is Stacey Gotsoulias,
DC Lundberg,
Ryan Finkelstein,
Taylor Blake Ward,
host of Locked On Yankees,
Locked On Mariners,
Locked On Mets,
Locked On Angels,
and you're listening to Locked On Braves.
Locked On Braves,
Locked On Braves,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Check out my bio there to see where I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves over at TomahawkTake.com. Also, please make sure that you follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Trying to get both of those up to 1,000 here before the start of the season. So I appreciate the follows on Twitter and the subscriptions on YouTube as well. And thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. I'm going to give you my New Year's resolutions as a Braves fan. I'm going to give you my New Year's resolutions for the Braves themselves, and also my resolutions here for the podcast. So hopefully you enjoy this episode again. Hopefully you are having a great New Year's. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, listening to the fireworks outside. So hopefully you all have a great New Year's Eve, a safe New Year's Eve, and are looking forward to 2022. Let me start with my New Year's resolutions as an Atlanta Braves fan. And this is something I try to do every year, especially as somebody who, I consider myself a baseball fan first and a Braves fan second, but that was really put to the test this past postseason. But the resolution for me here is just to enjoy every moment of the baseball season, whether good or bad. It's hard as a fan to do that sometimes, and sometimes you have to do that as a fan. That's what makes us fans. That's what makes us care and makes us so passionate, is when it's hard to watch when the Braves have a 1-run lead late in the game and that bullpen in the beginning of the year, tried to come in and close it out, or Will Smith walking the first batter of the inning every time he came in for a save. It's hard to watch, and I can understand leaving the room or turning the game off completely. Look, I've done it. But, it really was hard in the postseason because I got too emotional, too carried up in the moment where I wasn't even really able to enjoy it. I'd have to turn it off or pause it and then come back and fast forward through moments of the game just because it was too much for me, honestly. And I don't want it to be like that. I want to just enjoy each and every moment, good or bad, especially as we're sitting here in a lockout in December. And I would give anything to watch the Royals play the Pirates right now. I miss baseball season that much. So my resolution, and again, I try this every year for baseball season, is to just enjoy every moment, good or bad. Take a step back, try to take the emotions out of it, and just enjoy a baseball game. And that's what we should be doing. Again, with fans, it's great to be passionate, emotional, but also I think hopefully it's going to be a little bit easier for me this year because the pressure is off. That weight is off the shoulders. The Braves have won a World Series, and yes, I hope they do it again in 2022, but whether they do or not, we're still going to have 2021 fresh in our memories and something that we can look back to and still relive that excitement. So the pressure is somewhat off in 2022 for me, at least. Hopefully it allows me to sit back and enjoy these games much more without getting so worked up emotionally. So that's where I want to be as a Braves fan, is just to enjoy each and every game, enjoy the wins. Don't have to enjoy the losses, but at least enjoy watching the game of baseball, watching your Atlanta Braves. So that's my New Year's resolution. Hopefully that's one of yours as well, is to just not get caught up, in the each and every bad moment or tense moment in the game, but enjoy it for what it is. That's the moments that make this game so great, because you're either going to have a big high or a big low, and that's just part of it. And the Braves had a lot of big highs last year, so it should have been, an exciting season, but I was just so emotionally wrapped up and was just so tense with the postseason. I feel like I didn't really get to enjoy it like I should have. So that's my resolution, to just kind of sit back, enjoy the game, enjoy each and every moment of Braves baseball. Also want to dive into the Braves prospects more. I feel like I haven't done a great job of that. I've started that this offseason. Been watching a lot of Michael Harris, watched some Shea Langoliers. I watched Bryce Elder start the other day. So I'm trying to dive more into the prospects, become more knowledgeable of the prospects, to do that here on the podcast as well as over on tomahawktake.com. Be more of a prospect nerd when it comes to the Braves prospects in particular. I do like prospects. I mean, I write for Prospects 1500 as well, covering the AA South. So, I mean, I do enjoy prospects. I don't always get the time necessary to break down prospects, but I want to dive into that much more this season, particularly, like I said, for this podcast and for my writing over at tomahawktake.com, to dive into Braves prospects a little bit more. So definitely want to do a lot more of that in 2022. And then, I'm sure this is on every fan's list and their New Year's resolution, but I want to attend more games. Obviously, with the pandemic in 2020, wasn't able to go to any games. And then I made it to a handful of games last year. I do live in Birmingham, Alabama, so it is, a little bit of a trip for me to get over there, but I want to get, to more games. My oldest son, he's getting old enough now where he can enjoy the games and enjoy watching them and everything that you can do there at Truist Park. So I hopefully want to make that a goal. I already have a whole weekend planned out for the Angels series, hopefully to see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. So already got those tickets bought for all three games. Looking forward to that late in July. Should be a lot of fun, but just getting over there, more often and making weekend trips out of it, making memories with the family, with our kids. So that's something I want to do more of as a Braves fan. All right, next I want to look at the New Year's resolutions for the Atlanta Braves themselves. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions, as we're talking about here on the podcast today. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include a Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill, you want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. By like week 3, you might be thinking this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, it's over at Built Bar. You can get Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So here's an idea for the new year. Go to your secret treat stashes. You all have one. Go into the pantry, the office, the car, wherever they are. Throw out all your sugary or calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or a treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, that's LOCKED15 at built.com for 15% off your order. All right, here's my New Year's resolutions for the Atlanta Braves. And my first one on here, I've talked about it a lot, talked about this player a lot this offseason already, but be nicer to Freddie Freeman. I honestly don't know why they're dragging him through this process. This is a deal that should have been done a long time ago, as I've said multiple times. I get it. You're wanting to try to make a good business decision for your team, for your franchise, but this is Freddie Freeman. Be nicer to him. He should not have to go through what he's going through right now. So be nicer to Freddie Freeman, all that he's given to this franchise. Again, I don't think he's asking for anything more than what he honestly deserves and what he should be asking for. So be nicer to Freddie Freeman. I really hate to see what we have had to go through as fans, what Freddie Freeman's had to go through as a player who's given so much to this franchise. Be nicer to him. Treat him like the franchise player that he is. Give him the contract, the money that he's looking for, the money that he's earned, that he deserves. So that's one of my New Year's resolutions for the Braves. Be nicer to Freddie Freeman, please, and give him the contract that he deserves. And put Andrew Jones or retire Andrew Jones' number. I mean, again, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Things are starting to trend that way a little bit. He's already in the Braves Hall of Fame. I just don't feel like he's recognized enough for what he did for the Atlanta Braves. To me, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best defensive center fielders of all time, if not the best defensive center fielder of all time. Certainly a big part of those winning teams in the late 90s and early 2000s. So retire this man's jersey. I mean, make him a bigger deal in Atlanta than he is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some off the field stuff, and I know some of that is there, and they're hesitant about that. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I'm not here to get into the specifics of that, but I do know he was one of the greatest defensive center fielders of all time, one of my favorite Braves players of all time. I believe he deserves to have his jersey number retired, along with the Smoltz, the Glavine, the Maddox, the Chipper Jones, Bobby Cox of that era. I believe he deserves that, and I just think he needs to be celebrated more as an Atlanta Brave. I think there needs to be more attention drawn to him, and I think that's going to help his Hall of Fame candidacy as well. So I would like to see Andrew Jones get more of the recognition that he deserves and should be getting as a Braves legend. And then my last New Year's resolution, and this is more coming from a fan, but, obviously hoping this is a resolution for the Atlanta Braves. Act like a large market team. You're a large market team. You play in a big city. You draw a lot of fans. You make a lot of money from the Battery. You just won a World Series. Let's act like a large market team. It doesn't mean you just spend stupid money like the Phillies have done, but let's spend. Let's see you get closer to 180, get closer to $200 million payroll. I mean, that's where Atlanta should be. It's where they once were back in those 90s. And, I know money is different now and spent crazy. And you see what the Dodgers are doing with $250 million payrolls, but the Braves should be able to spend like a large market team. And I get everybody wants to, blame Liberty Media, and maybe that has something to do with it. But again, this is a resolution for the Atlanta Braves from a fan's perspective. I want to see them act like a large market team as they should. We shouldn't have to be, like I said earlier, dragging Freddie Freeman through this situation. We should be able to give him the money he deserves and still put a winning team around him. So act like the large market team that you should be. Start spending like a large market team. I want to see $180, $190 million payrolls. I mean, come on. It is about time. You just won a World Series. You're making tons of money from attendance, from the Battery, from everything around Truist Park, which is great. And you've done that, and that's fantastic. Now let's start seeing the fruits of that labor, and let's become a top 5, top 8 payroll team in all of baseball. So those are my New Year's resolutions for the Braves. Hopefully they're listening. Hopefully they take my advice there. Next, we'll come back to talk about New Year's resolutions for this podcast. BetOnline has you covered all season, along with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, before I get into my New Year's resolutions here, I did want to mention, obviously, New Year's Eve. We've been watching the college football playoff games right now. Some of the most exciting sports actions we'll see until spring training hopefully starts on time. I'm not a big NFL or NBA guy, but as an Auburn grad, to see Alabama and Georgia in the national championship game again really stings. But I know we got a lot of Georgia fans out there, got some Alabama fans out there as well. Again, I live in Birmingham, Alabama, went to Auburn University, so I'm not really looking forward to that national championship matchup, but congrats to the Georgia fans out there. The Alabama fans, should be a great rematch game there in the college football national championship. So want to congratulate all the Georgia fans out there, all Alabama fans out there. Looking forward to that one. But here's my New Year's resolutions for this podcast. The first one for me is to get more guests. I think I've had 2 guests on since I took over the podcast. I want to have more guests on the show. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know some people you would like to see on the show. I want to try to incorporate more people into the podcast going forward. I think you as a listener would appreciate that and enjoy that. So let me know if you got some names out there, people you'd like me to go after to try and get on the show, but definitely want to do more of that in 2022. And then more interaction on Twitter. I talk about it a lot. Please follow me at Shortstop Ball. Follow the podcast at LockedOn_Braves. I want to become more involved in Braves Twitter. It's a very active community. Sometimes can be a very difficult community to try to communicate with, but there is a really great community of Braves country out there on Twitter. I want to try to interact more with you. I'll admit I'm not the greatest on Twitter or social media in general. It's tough for me to really keep up, but I want to try to do better. I want to try to interact more with you, interact more with the fans. Like I said, there's so many great people out there. I read your tweets. I see your tweets. I just need to be more interactive with the community, with the fan base, because it is such a great fan base. A lot of passionate fans, a lot of great fans, knowledgeable fans, but also just some really great people as well that I hope to get to know better over the course of 2022 and the 2022 season. So those are my New Year's resolutions, my resolutions for the Braves and my resolutions for the podcast as well. Again, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what some of your New Year's resolutions are as a Braves fan, what your resolutions are for the Braves as well. And let me know what you think your resolution should be for the podcast. Again, want to make this an interactive podcast. So let me know your thoughts, what you would like to see in 2022. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at Shortstop Ball. Also, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast, wherever it is you listen to your podcast. And we'll talk to you in 2022.